Welcome to Behind the Audition podcast with your host, Curt Hilton. Listen in on interviews with voiceovers, filmmakers, producers, animators, and much more. Curt, a voice actor himself, will give insider tips to the business, talk with guests about how they got into the business, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast when he challenges his guests with a pop-up audition. Now it's time for Behind the Audition podcast. Here's Curt Hilton.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. On this episode, I got to speak to the amazing voice actor, Brianna Wanlass. Brianna and I talked about how she started out in the voiceover industry, mental health awareness, the importance of social media presence, and her life as a musician. We also talked about helpful tips that I know all you listeners will enjoy. So sit back and enjoy another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. And coming to the show, I'm super excited to have this amazing voice actor. I've been wanting to have her on the show for a long time, but now we get to have fun and talk. Welcome to the show, Brianna Wanlass. How are you doing today?
I thank you very much. I'm doing great. How are you? How is everybody out there? Hi, Curt.
Before we get the show started, I've had one of those crazy weeks, and to all those getting into this industry, make sure you have an emergency backup. We switched to fiber in the house, and today last night I was actually worried I wasn't gonna be able to have this because I've been running what's it called, use your phone. My gosh, where you use the phone as a modem.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I had to use my phone as a modem, hotspot. My goodness. Yes. So we upgraded, and they're like, you gotta get fiber. You know, I'm the frugal, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of individual. We upgraded it. We didn't have internet for 2 days. I was sending auditions and bookings through my phone. It was crazy, and they couldn't figure it out. And also it was just a switch. So for all those individuals doing this, be sure to have an emergency backup because it was crazy.
Nothing like that's happened to me yet, knock on wood.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm super excited to have you. Tell us about why in the world you wanted to be a voice actor. I always want to ask every person, what is it about this that you wanted to be a voice actor?
Ooh, I don't have a simple answer, but I'll try. Okay. I don't come from an acting background, first of all. I wasn't in drama or anything like that in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did do was I sang and played guitar in several rock bands. So I'm a performer. Loved being on stage for many years. This was in my youth. Rocking out hard, work hard, play hard kind of life. That doesn't happen anymore. But anyway, while doing all of that, I've worked retail jobs and restaurant jobs my whole life. And that just paid the bills, right? And I always thought about how cool voiceover was, never really thought anything else other than that. Like, oh, voiceover is cool. Never thought I would do it or want to do it or anything. And just a few years ago, just before the pandemic hit, I thought about it a little bit more because I just hated doing what I was doing, customer service stuff. I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted something different. And then the pandemic hit and the place I was working at closed. And then just being in that, couple months of just what's going on in the world, what do I want? All that time we all had, I had to really think about what do I want. So I said, F it, I'm going to take some classes. So I discovered Real Voice LA and just plowed into a lot of classes via Zoom, commercial and promo and trailer classes. And then the store opened back up because we thought things were fine.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner reached out, you want to come back? And I said, no, I don't. But I'm very lucky. I have a wonderful husband who said, hey, you don't go back. Just don't. Spend some time. I'll cover the bills for a while. Keep learning about voiceover. Keep trying to do this. And my goal was to see if this is going to work out and if I really love it. And I discovered I do, and I wanted to keep going. And in 2020, I finally got an agent. So I'm with DDO, and just immersing myself in this wonderful community it kind of came later why I want to do this. I discovered it later. All the friends I've made, the teachers, I just, it's so welcoming and so supportive and healing. As someone who struggles with anxiety, I've and insecurity, not ever I thinking I'm really enough to do anything career like. I finally faced those not demons, but those blocks, those roadblocks, challenged them, and I was able to kind of come to it like a spiritual enlightenment kind of thing, like, wow, voiceover is freeing me. And I know it is. It's making me happier, freer. I feel loved. I love others. I'm a happier person. And that's kind of my long answer.
No, that's awesome because you hit a lot of things that I think a lot of voice actors go through, insecurity,
Oh,
as
yeah.
well as doing things that you finally get to do now. So you were in a band, and Stefan, Johnson, as well as Melissa Medina, Charlie Toro. There's so many voice actors that I talked to that were in the music industry. I'm a DJ, so it's kind of funny, we all, and back in the 90s, I would DJ with the bands. What did you sing, and what kind of music did you perform? Because I love hearing people that can sing and everything. I mean, what did you like to perform?
Well, I started learning guitar at age 13, and my big influence was actually my dad, who happens to be an audio engineer, and he used to, make, live concerts sound amazing. He was that guy. And then he went into another kind of work. One day our neighbor brought over a guitar, and I was like, 12. My dad started playing it. I had no idea he knew how to play guitar. So suddenly I was amazed, and what's going on? Dad, you can play guitar? I just thought you were a dorky engineer guy.
That-
And he started showing me how to play it, and then he introduced me to like classic rock music. Like he's like, "Oh, you gotta listen to Led Zeppelin." And he just started feeding me all this great music of
Mhm.
the era he loved. Creedence Clearwater, Cream, whatever, Jimi Hendrix, all that.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I'm a teenager of the 90s, by the way. So also at
Yeah.
the same time, I was listening to a lot of grunge music, which I
Oh
still
yeah.
love
Oh yeah.
grunge. Oh my God, my favorite is probably
Chris
Alice in Chains.
Cornell. How about
Oh,
Chris Cornell?
come on, yeah, of course.
So
Chris
Alice in
Cornell,
Chains,
yeah,
Wood, that song, I probably had that on like shuffle, not shuffle, was it repeat in the CD
yeah,
player, the Kenwoods? Oh my
so
gosh. So your dad I'm gonna give your dad a lot of respect
yeah.
because when I first started DJing in the nightclubs, the sound guys, you don't mess with their equipment, and they knew exactly. I thought I knew what I was doing. One day I was like just messing with the soundboard,
Yeah.
and the look on the soundboard guy's face when he came down, he said, "What did you touch?" I'm like, I didn't do
Yeah,
anything, but
oh, yeah.
he's like, but those guys, they actually got paid more than the band, and they knew exactly what it's like. Don't touch my babies, whenever. So
That's my dad.
that's the thing. I give total respect to them because they know exactly what they're doing. So did you sing like Heart? Were you a big Heart fan? Because you're talking
Oh,
about that music. You seem
well
like you could
well,
belt out some Heart.
guess what? My first band, we did a couple of Heart covers. Barracuda was our
Oh my
big hit.
gosh. Yes.
And we played that song like 100 times at least. Um, yeah, and then I started learning more about like, punk music and like metal and like European black metal and like all this stuff
Oh
like,
wow.
you listen to it and you're just I swear to God, when I listen to that kind of music, like
Mm-hmm.
the European like black metal with crazy timings,
Uh-huh.
that kind of stuff, I go into a state of like meditation. I don't find the music scary or causes me anxiety. It actually chills me out.
That is awesome.
So, anyway, over the years, I've been in other bands. So my first band was kind of like focused on that, the grunge music I was influenced by and the classic rock music. So it had a funk, it had a grunginess. The next band I was in went way into like punk, metal, crazy jazz craziness, and I was just the singer in that band. Um, and then I was in another band. My favorite band, we were called Zombie Pussy. Can I say that?
Oh, I mean, of course you can.
It was just me and my 2 girlfriends from California, and, that was a great project, and all the songs were dedicated to a loved one of ours who passed away. That was a meaningful project of ours. Yeah, and since then, I haven't been, doing anything with bands. I'd like to again someday, but right now, I just have time for voiceover, so.
Well, that's a good thing. I things that one thing I want to give you a shout out for is you have an infectious personality, and what I mean by that is your social media. And I think a lot of people back in the day, we were talking about the '90s, they didn't have social media like we have nowadays to see that individual, their personality, and see what they bring to the table. It was more like you hear a tape, you don't see what the person looks like, you just imagine what they look like. But you have that infectious personality. I want to let you know that it brings a lot of energy, and it shows people you're not just a great voice, you're a great person. So I just wanted to give you a shout out on that.
Oh, thank you. Flattery will get you everywhere. Yeah,
No,
I just try to be me.
well, you can tell. Like I just saw like on TikTok, we're all a lot of voice actors are on TikTok. You had the one with the mermaid, and I was cracking up. I was like, oh my gosh, she's just having a good time, and you love what you're doing when you're
Yeah.
having a good time. There are some people that just think you just go in the studio, you record a voice, and I'm done. But there's more to it. It's showing your passion, actually showing you care doing this job. And so, and I see that you do work for TVA, Trailer Voice Artists, and there's a big group of people over there. I've interviewed Brent before. It's a great team. What is it like with promo? What is it like about promo that you love?
Oh, promo is just it's got a wonderful energy. And whether it's like a happy piece of copy or a serious drama or something
Hmm.
like that, there's always a specific quality to it where it's just you want to engage.
Hmm.
Um, and also you get to play a little bit more. You get to be a little more theatrical. Obviously, it's not they are asking for more conversational reads these days, but it's gotta hit in a certain way. It's gotta have a little bit of theatrics, and it's just a really fun type of voiceover.
That is awesome. And about your auditions, when you started out doing auditions for companies, and was it for like pay to plays, or was it just you're going to production companies? When did you first start auditioning, and who did you audition for?
Exactly, it was pay-to-play sites,
Hmm.
voices.com, I'm doing stuff on Baldago,
Hmm.
but, my first few jobs were through people I know, which was awesome. My husband's a producer-director who has a lot of friends in the entertainment industry,
Hmm.
so a couple of friends go, "What, your wife's doing that now? Well, I actually need something." So I did a couple of things for some people who needed something for a company or 2, started there, and then, yeah, pay to play. And then just through other friends, other fellow voiceover actors that I've met
Hmm.
in class have gotten me work. Um, and yeah, yeah, pretty much like that. That's how it began.
And you've done work for like I believe I saw you did something for like award shows, like you did promos for like now we're gonna give the award for this and that. You
Oh,
did
yeah,
that too
yeah.
as well, right?
Well, that was last year. Yeah. That was in Best Music Awards,
Yeah.
which was really fun. Yeah. And, Brent hooked us up with that, and it was really easy and just a fun time, and I recorded here in my house. Brent directed me a little bit, and just sent off the file and they put it together. And I haven't like actually done a lot of promo. I mean, I'm waiting to book that one job.
Hmm.
But
It's
that's
always cool
it's
seeing those
promo's
shows.
hard. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like when you watch TV, I was like, when I was in my teenage years, you always hear like that voice, and I just heard the Super Bowl, when they had the guy who introduced, now singing. That guy had the deep, perfect voice for it, and then you watch award shows, introducing now the blah blah, that promo voice. That's something it'd be hard for me to do, but somebody
Yeah.
like you who has that good voice for it. Do you practice like with a coach on that all the time? Like, do you and Brenton practice a lot for promos, or is there something else you like to work on? Or
Well, you know what? I have to admit something. I've not worked with a coach yet. I've just
okay.
taken classes. I do practice by myself at home, and I'll listen to shows and mimic and try to feel what that vibe is about. Um, so did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, no, no. And do you focus on your brand, or is it just, the goal is just to be on a bunch of rosters, or do you like to build your own brand? Is that something you want to like your goal?
It definitely needs to be a goal. And I'm figuring that out currently as I go and figure things out. Like, people need a brand.
Hmm.
That's how you sell yourself. That's how you market yourself. So BW voice,
Yeah.
and creating content, having a website, all those things. One thing I haven't done yet is like, what people do is sending out emails to
Hmm.
local businesses. Haven't done that yet. I should.
But
But
you
yeah,
got a good strategy. I think you're doing enough where you're growing to where you want to be. You're happy doing what you're doing. I think sometimes you could overdo it. You know what I mean, and burn yourself out. I've burnt
yeah.
myself out sending. One day I made um like an Excel sheet because I did a strategy. Somebody told me to get an Excel sheet and Google all the production companies, Google this and that, and I spent probably 7 hours one day sending emails, marking my Excel sheet, and I burnt myself out in a matter of hours. So I was like, oh my gosh, because
Yeah.
I felt like I was just going too many places at one time. So I think
Oh,
what you're doing is good. You know what I mean? Because you can
oh,
overwork yourself.
oh yeah. And early on, I was really giving myself a hard time, by the way. I'm someone who brings up the topic of mental health all the time. The grind concept, I'm not into that. When people
Yeah.
post never stop, I think
Yeah.
that's toxic in a
Hmm.
sense, teaching people to think that they have to keep going all even when they're exhausted. Like, rest is important.
Yes.
Um, and anything you do, as long as you're moving forward, is enough at your own pace. That's the thing to talk about,
Absolutely. Yeah. I
not
just
grinding.
Oh, no, no. It was funny. I just posted something on Twitter the other day when I interviewed Melissa Medina. She
Mhm.
told me one way not to, get burnt out is to make uh, hours for your business.
Yeah.
I'm available this and that, and don't let, production companies and this and that, because there's people, like you said, if I'm up at 2 in the morning and I get when I'm going, no, I'm not doing that because it's your behaviors are going to change to be ready 24 hours a day, and you're not going to have work-life balance and burnout. You know what I mean? And so recently I just made work hours. I posted it. I set expectation for production companies,
Right.
and so now I have time with the family, and I feel like it's not, I have passion, but I don't want to have too much passion where I don't have a life, because you got to have a life in this business too.
Exactly. You
You
gotta have
know?
a life.
Exactly.
Where's life? Like, this is a country of industry. Come on, like, it's embedded in all our brains, right? We went to
Hmm.
school learning that you have to get a job and, like, oh my god, like, and our parents said, things to us about, like, how we need to make something happen, or you'll work at a job you'll hate, and, like, all the fear. Like,
Hmm.
I know I went through, all my friends say they all went through, where it's like, you're so worried that you're not going to please others, because it's about pleasing what your parents want, pleasing what your boss wants, pleasing, pleasing, pleasing. That just happens to be what you know, this culture kinda does, and it's
Hmm.
a type of pressure that causes a lot of anxiety, so much anxiety, my god. Mental health issues for a lot of people, and those who I know who are like me, who do the work to free themselves from that
Hmm.
state of mind, end up feeling a lot better, gaining energy back, um, reducing anxiety, and then also this wonderful thing of allowing, I'll say, the universe to attract great things. You pull it in, you attract it. I think that's real. It really
Hmm.
happens. Send out that I want better. I want happiness. I want these things. Or you say, I have them now. I have them now. I have them now. This is what I am now. I am a voice actor. I know I used to say, I'm an inspiring voice actor.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I
your
am
voice of
a voice
yes.
actor.
Yes, I love that. And talking about mental health, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's always nice to talk to other voice actors who, struggle with that. Anxiety was a big thing when I was younger. I get anxiety. Insecurity is for everybody. If for those who say they're not insecure, everybody's insecure about something in their life. What would you tell somebody, getting into this industry with not saying mental health, but is struggling with mental health problems, anxiety? What would it be? I don't want to say I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but you know what I mean? Like, what would you tell those who are struggling with everyday anxiety, how to get over it and to just, focus on you and focus on things that you can make yourself better in this industry?
I swear by this. do your own cognitive therapy and or get a therapist. Because and I hope more people know that can't be stigmatized anymore. Like,
Right. I
therapy
have a
is
therapist. I have a
everybody
therapist.
should have a therapist.
I
Yes,
love it. I love
good.
it. Absolutely.
My God, I wish everybody had a therapist.
Hmm.
Um, and if you can't afford one or just can't get one, there are books to read. I've read so many that are, essentially self-help books, cognitive therapy self-help books, which help you figure out where, like, it goes into childhood, like, what happened to you when you were a kid? Were you bullied? Did your parents
Hmm.
always tell you you were a loser? And what happens with that is, um, the present you starts looking at that going, "Oh," and just knowing that that's what happened to you actually is how the beginning of the healing process starts, because some people don't wanna think about it. You block it out, you bury it, and then
Hmm.
you end up being a person who has all these behaviors that are cyclical that keep happening.
Hmm.
That's why you don't get ahead. That's why you stop yourself. So once you look at where it came from with therapy, that's where it begins. So everybody just take the time to even just look on the internet, find a couple of books, or just start reading articles about healing your own trauma, um, learning the importance. Ooh, this is a huge one, of forgiveness.
Yeah.
'Cause, I think a lot of people live with blame and rage and, you know, we won't say it out loud, but a lot of us would think, I used to think, it's that person's fault that I'm in this stuck situation, or these people's fault. It's nothing is anybody's fault.
Right.
Um, and the only way to get there is to forgive and say it out loud like an affirmation. I forgive you
Absolutely.
and you and you and you. And then everyone's free. You free yourself. And when you get to that place of freeness, then you're kind of fearless. And then you're like, I'm gonna try to do fun things because I'm not scared anymore.
Absolutely.
Right,
And,
voiceover.
and before the pandemic, I was a social butterfly. I'd love to be out and about. I like to talk. I mean, I was like that way in high school, after high school, and just, being in the environment I was as a DJ, and then, DJing weddings and just being out every weekend and stuff.
Yeah,
Then the pandemic came, and I was sitting around, like, that's why I created this podcast, because I felt like I needed to talk to other VOs,
yeah,
what they're doing, as well as have conversations, because we all became to this point where we're stuck inside. And then on top of that, then you had to go inside your booth. So then it was like, oh my gosh, I'm inside my house and I'm going inside to a smaller area. So it's like, why am I feeling this way? And I,
challenge.
I reached out to a therapist. I'm like, look, is there something wrong with me? Am I the only one feeling this way? I mean, is it, and it was the not knowing, and just been having a conversation with somebody else to let them know you're okay. You're not the only one doing this. I
Mhm,
think you're exactly right. I think everybody should at least make a phone call once, and
mhm.
just to let everything out in your brain. Because sometimes if you hold out in your brain, you're just gonna, like you said, rage, blow
Yeah,
up. What is
right.
wrong with me? Other things. I think everybody. That's so great you say that. Everybody should have a conversation at least once with a therapist, and they'll be amazed to
Yeah,
see how much free they feel.
yeah. Oh, and or even journaling. Ooh, that's a good one. Because
Yeah,
what's amazing about how our brains work is that when you journal, you're actually the thoughts actually become real, the ideas become real, a memory becomes solidified on a piece of paper. You're looking at the words and
hmm,
you're reading that whether it's a feeling you wrote down about somebody or an experience, an emotion, a memory, you actually, when you write it down, it becomes something to analyze and look at and go, do I want to think about this anymore?
right.
I agree with do I agree with this anymore? Like, you start, because if you don't write it down, it's just in the cloud of your consciousness,
Absolutely.
never really solidified until you write it down and look at it. So
I'm so glad
journal.
you brought that up. That is like, it makes you feel better. And and so, as you, as a voice actor, what is the type of work that you prefer to do? I know everybody says everything. What is something that you love doing? What kind of genre or what kind of voice over project do you like to do the best?
I am starting to fall in love with games and animation.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I mean, early on, I wouldn't have thought, like, I was so trepidatious about that. I was like, oh, when I tried to ask myself that question when I first began, "What kind of voiceover do I want to do?" Um, I was like, "No, no, animation, games. No, 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 no. That requires, hardcore acting. You gotta know how to act and be an actor to do those things.
Hmm.
Know how to tell a story, be a character, be all sorts of characters. Stay away from that." But as time has gone by and I've just allowed myself to dabble in those things, I realized, "Oh my god, this is really fun."
Hmm. Is there a favorite character you like have you done so far that you just fell in
I
love with, like a part?
I've only I haven't, like, booked a animation or like, an actual game. I've
Uh-huh.
the only thing I did do was a, post-apocalyptic themed, slot machine gambling game
That was still
with
cool though. Was it fun?
Oh, it was so fun, and it was like a badass warrior chick who gets to say cool things.
Yeah.
Um, and that experience was amazing because it that character I was allowed to create in a way,
Hmm.
not visually, just vocally, and it was when I listen back to it, it's me.
Yeah.
It's kind of part of me is that character, the one who wants to kick ass and,
Hmm.
fight for her freedom or whatever that is, and I loved, that kind of performance. I do well with commercial, I do pretty good with radio imaging, um, so I think I'm just gonna explore games and animation more and just see what happens, not, like, need it to work out, but, you know, I'm mostly doing commercial auditions all the time because that's,
That's what
something
you like.
all of us should get good at because it's
Hmm.
important and you can make, money more often in commercial. But yeah, it's interesting, and then, what else? I don't think I'll ever audiobooks is intriguing, but I think I'm gonna put that way off.
Those are tedious. I thought I was going to do that, but then I started working on one. Thank goodness I didn't do it. But what do you think about these new? They're not new, but obsessed with podcasts. I think it's great because I don't like watching a lot of news because negativity is contagious to me, and I just don't. It's like dropping up. I always say
Yep.
it's like dropping a pill of negativity in my drink. I drink it, I become negative just like that, and I don't like being that way. Um, so, what do you think about these new like shows on podcasts? I think I had an audition for a part. I was a villain in this house, and um, the we I guess the girl in the house, she was like kidnapped or whatever. And I was like, another girl was coming to get her. And I freaked myself out. I'm like, oh my gosh. The guy goes, yeah, you freaked me out too. I'm like, what am I supposed to feel that way? And he started the project. Unfortunately, he didn't get to finish it, but I was like, oh my gosh, I found a character who was really creepy. And I actually got into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to be like, start walking around the house being like,
That sounds so fun.
what do you think about those? Those are pretty cool, aren't they?
Pretty cool. Well, I mean, that just reminds me of old radio days,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like when people would listen to stories on the radio, perform, it just is exactly the same thing, right?
Yeah. You see
I've
a lot of
auditioned
those.
for a couple. I haven't booked any yet, but I mean, I just love it. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, because I like to get out and about and I'll walk like 30 minutes a day and I'll put on a podcast. But I think it's kind of cool. You could put that on if you listen to something different to kind of clear your head.
Yeah.
Um, Going into so you're building your brand and everything. What would you tell somebody getting into this industry? What's the first thing you would do now if you could redo it again?
What's the first thing I would redo
Yeah, yeah.
now?
Well, I mean, not redo, but what is something that you would have done differently that you did before?
Oh, what have I done? Well, I don't know if I would do anything differently because to think that I would do something differently would be telling myself I made some kind of mistake, and I don't believe in mistakes. So I suppose if I had to sort of answer that, maybe just just trust myself more, just work harder on believing in the process, trusting the process. I mean,
That's a good answer because you don't want to change. That's a great answer. What would you say to somebody getting into the industry, some good advice, what advice would you give them?
Well, definitely, definitely practice a lot because, I mean, I've had people reach out to me who are just getting, started in voiceover, who have questions about voiceover, and I always answer those
Hmm.
messages. And they're usually situations like, "Oh, I wanna leave my job, I'm working as a whatever at, computer
Hmm.
something, they're not happy working at this company that, and the pandemic's making them so stressed out. I think I'm gonna leave my job and go into voiceover. What kind of money do you think I'll make a year?" And it's like, "Ooh."
Don't do this
So
job.
what I tell everybody, I tell them the truth and I say, maybe don't leave your job, maybe try to work out a part-time situation because if you're gonna dive into voiceover, you're about to find out that it requires you to learn, learn, and learn.
Hmm.
I mean, you're taking classes, you're reading books, you're listening to podcasts about voiceover. Um, there's YouTube videos about it. I mean, there's so much you're gonna have to dive into because it isn't easy. And that's okay that it's not easy. I don't want anyone to walk away feeling like, "Oh, I can't do this." No, you can, but just be ready to fully embrace the fact that, um, have fun, and then you'll be okay. Go into this wanting to have fun and explore what acting is all about and what that brings out of you and have fun with that, as opposed to, "I need this to work. I need this to pay my bills.
Hmm.
I need this to fix me," or I need something cool to do and I want this to fix that. That kind of thinking, you won't get anywhere at all. So,
It's like
uh,
sales, right? Your voice does the selling. That's why I did my tech. Your voice will sell you, but if you don't sell your voice, you're not making any money. I mean, that's people think they just talk into a mic and their voice is wonderful and they're going to make a lot of money.
yeah. Yeah, so just be honest with yourself about that. Do you want something that's gonna really, I mean, Brent Allen Hagel, love that guy. He said one of my favorite things in one of his classes when I first started working with him is that I think someone asked him in class, "So how long will this take before, I mean, do you think I'll start making money in about 10 years or less? What's the time frame for that? What is it?" And Brent's answer was something like, "No, just decide you wanna be a voice actor for the rest of your life, and then it'll work out.
Wow.
Decide you wanna do this for the rest of your life till you're dead. Not maybe I'll wanna kinda do it sometimes or see what happens, because 'cause you'll just be essentially wasting your time, wasting your money on equipment. Some people just buy all the equipment, right? We've all heard
Yes.
those stories. They buy all this equipment, and then after maybe a year or 2, they realize, "Oh, I can't do this."
That is awesome. It's kind of funny. I still have my microphone. My first voiceover microphone,
Mhm.
MXL V7, whatever it is. It's gold. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I still use that one, and then
Oh,
I
yeah.
have another. But I use the same mic I've had because everybody thinks they need to get the Sennheiser. They need to get this. They need to get the Neumann. I mean, all this stuff they think they need to get. And I think that's great advice you give. And you're all in, or just don't do it because you just need to make money. And now it's time to have some fun. We're gonna have fun. It's called it's the Behind the Audition Challenge. You ready to have some fun?
Sure.
So I sent you this fun script, and I think you're going to enjoy it because you do amazing work at promos. I think you're an amazing promo voice actor. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and read this script and make it your own.
Welcome to the 2022 Winter Olympic Curling reruns. While watching the show, we will be showing ads to block your visuals of all the live action. By the way, this part of the show is brought to you by Miami, Florida. We know you're all sick of cold weather. Come to Florida.
I don't know about you, but I've been watching the Olympics, and I like it for it's fun to watch, but the ads always come half shot, and it's like I'm trying to watch this guy do like 50 flips, and you're showing an ad on this. It's like quit it.
Stop. Yeah, that
Oh
was
goodness.
fun.
I always love, I always tell people before I got into VO, I wrote
Yeah.
copy for ads. And I always just like making goofy ones. And for even when I do stuff for content for social media, I write my own copy. I'll do goofball ones on TikTok and stuff like that. Closing the show out, what do you think about social media? How important is it for if you want to be a voice actor? How important is it for you to be out there on social media? I know Brent. When I talked to him, I think he said if you're not being seen, you're not being heard. How important is it for voice actors to have social media accounts?
It is officially essential. So guess what, guys? Anyone listening? Guess what? You have to do it. You got to do it. I mean, it's also an opportunity. Don't be squeamish about it or worried or concerned that you're not going to put out good content. You just be yourself, show people your reads, take advantage of it because it's free. And someone like me who's admitted to not sending out emails yet and not doing a lot of the classic stuff you're supposed to do to promote yourself, I really take advantage of it, and it's helped me. I've gotten work that way. And also it brings you out of your shell. So, you know, I've watched a lot of people bloom, and I love that. I've watched a lot of people who've just started posting, and then, a couple months later, they're like doing crazy fun stuff and really showing off their skills. That's the whole point. And producers, directors, casting people, they're scrolling. They're looking for talent. That's how it's working. And actually, I just hung out with Stefan here in New York yesterday.
I love that guy.
He's so awesome. We went and got coffee, and we just talked about what happened to his career, and just, yes, him and Brent both on TikTok, exploding with followers and opportunities, booking work that way. Holy cow. You got to do it, people.
Yeah. And he is such a humble guy. Like he was one of the first ones I actually have video on this podcast. Meeting him, he is exactly like you would think, humble guy, amazing for the voiceover community. And I think it's so great to see him rise to the top. You know what I mean? I love seeing people deserve success like he has gotten. I am so grateful for you to be on the show. And we're going to definitely have to do this again because, like I said, you have that great infectious, personality that's great. And I want to say thank you for being out there and being on social media and showing, fun, love, and motivation to us all. Brianna Wanlass, thank you so much for being on Behind the Audition podcast.
Thank you so much. I had a wonderful time, Curt. Thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely. For more information about Brianna or to book her for a project, go to bwvoice.com.
Thanks for listening in on Behind the Audition podcast, made possible by Hilton Productions. If you need a male or female voiceover, contact us at hiltonproductions.com. Hilton Productions, let our voices do the selling.